what should we be paying attention to as far as data and analytics? Because there's so many different things, and I don't think it comes down to,
Yes.
just likes and comments and things like that.
Yes. Oh my
What
gosh,
should we
yes.
be?
I'm going to say it's such an unpopular answer, and many people are going to think I'm naive. I think we look at too much.
Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer here at the Center for Victory. With us today, a very special guest, Ms. Dina Enos. Dina transforms how mission-driven organizations grow, strengthen their in-house talent, and give back in a new and meaningful way. She is the founder of Stronghouse, a data-driven marketing agency that has helped over 1 million businesses flourish while simultaneously paving a new path for social impact through her professional work. Her influence extends beyond her agency, where she chairs boards, mentors future leaders, and actively shapes the landscape of organizations like Prosperity Catalyst and Strategies for Youth. So welcome, Dina.
Thank
To
you.
the
It's
show.
great to be here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I introduced you, but could you give us a little bit more background about what you do and how you got started? Because it's very interesting at least to me.
Sure. So I started my career in-house in marketing and really enjoyed that and grew my career there. But realized that once I reached those jobs that I had always wanted to have, that I didn't enjoy them. I was stuck in meetings. I felt disconnected from my team. I was doing less collaboration, having less creativity. And just more overhead, more operations. And I wanted to figure out a way to get back to executing and really being on the ground. And I love working with people. That I'm a very people-driven person. And so the idea for Stronghouse came about as a way to be a senior leader to help either early stage startups, large companies at major inflection points, or companies that are frankly just stuck. Help them get unstuck. So I work as a mentor, a collaborator, a strategist, but also an executor with in-house teams to really fortify their skill set, help them move past any obstacles or develop new skill areas. And the goal is for them to no longer need me down the line. And for every client who I work with, I donate marketing hours to a nonprofit of their choice.
Okay. Well, I guess that's why the Prosperity Catalyst, the Strategies for Youth, is that something like that's a why for you?
It really is. I feel that being connected to community and giving back, it just nourishes my soul. It helps me feel better about the world. And especially as the world gets more divisive and difficult to navigate, I find myself just wanting to reach out and be included in communities that are making impacts in other people's lives.
Now, you mentioned skill sets. What are you specifically helping them build? Like when you go in and work with folks?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because most of the time the teams have the skill sets needed, but either they are intimidated, they're focused on the wrong things, they've been rejected or discouraged enough times with new ideas. And, as frustrating as it is, sometimes it takes hearing the idea for a fifth time from somebody outside of the organization to really make it happen. So part of what my goal is to always infuse a team with data, show them that testing is a mechanism to help get them unstuck and get them back on a path to growth and to discovery of new opportunities in terms of revenue and bringing in traffic or new customers to a company. And also it's an opportunity for someone who's been doing the same job to kind of experience new life being breathed into that job, with a new collaboration partner and an opportunity to try things differently. So, often when I start working with a company, I'll ask the team to write down an exhaustive list of everything that they do in a week. And then I ask them, what are the 5 things that you're going to give up? Because I want you to free up your space. I always say I want your big, beautiful brains, like focused on what's new, what can I try? Because you're never gonna get different results by doing the same things. If we want different outputs, we have to change the inputs. And that's a difficult thing to do, especially if you've experienced success for such a long time. The challenge is when those successful creatives or that successful marketing strategy starts to get complacent. It's so difficult to have the courage to change in order to try and find a new path.
Yeah, I'm interested. What do people, their eyes probably, that's like deer in the headlights when you ask them to give up five things. Are there like, are there any things that are very similar that people say, like, what are the five things you're going to give up? Like, whoa.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, reporting is a big part of it, right? I have to send this weekly email or these, these frequent reports. Everyone is counting on them. And I know that marketers are so excited about generative AI, and I certainly think there is a critical place for that technology to, augment our lives, augment our abilities to execute on great marketing strategies. I think we should be using AI for reporting and things that are iterative tasks, and really free ourselves up to have the time to think about new ideas. Most of the time, the reports that we have, no one's looking at all of them, right? There's probably one or two reports that could really capture all the value or the information that is needed. And it would be more valuable to that individual in terms of their personal contribution to the business and to the business as a whole to focus and then free up that time to try and find new things. But it's hard for people to let go of. I think also that there's, in collaboration and working cross-functionally, there's a lot of inefficiencies, a lot of meetings. So several times it's just starting with the meeting schedule that a company has. And then each week saying, we're gonna cut this meeting by 15 minutes. Let's see how we do. Let's cut it by another 15 minutes. And miraculously, you'll find that 60-minute meetings, the content can actually be pushed into a 30-minute meeting much more effectively and efficiently than people would imagine. But you fill the space that you're given.
Yeah. So the value of that, the value of optimized marketing, what is that? Like when you take a big, broader view of that?
Yeah, so, I think what is really powerful about marketing, or when we think about like marketing campaigns that have sustained or brands that give us a feeling. Like I remember when I was early in my career, the Absolute vodka ads, those ads were it, right? And they had them for every city or, different industries, and they were iconic. But in our world now, because there's so much content and there's so many different types of stimuli, um, the same message doesn't resonate as much. And so the notion of optimizing doesn't mean that you have to change something completely, but that there might be a nuance that you work on. There's a single variable that you're isolating. So it could be the call to action on the page. It could be the color of it. It could be the placement of your carousels. It could be the image that is being used in the ad itself, but you're keeping the message the same. But changing those inputs and the combinations of them could yield different results. And what's so exciting about it is that those different results could also perform better with specific segments and audiences. So it's about sort of taking that big mission, that big idea and vision, and figuring out what's that special customized message that you can give to, really like an inexhaustive list of, set of customers.
Yeah. So what I'm really interested in, because this is, I think this is a topic that you speak a lot about, is building a business model around your values. Like,
Yes.
is that like, how do you help people like draw that out?
Yeah, it's really important. So, most of the organizations that I work with, even the for-profit ones, are mission driven or centered around values. And there's something that either the founder or the leadership or, the team members, something that drew them to working there. But what happens is that when you get into the daily kind of bustle of working and you're in the grind and you're answering Slacks and emails and, you just get lost in it, you miss the vision. And by paring back what you're doing, it enables space, not just for new ideas, but to really remember and to reconnect with what the vision is and what the values are. I often find that companies have so many values or pieces of their culture, and it's maybe up to 10 different adjectives. And every single one of them is interesting and important in its own way, but it's hard to aspire to 3 things, let alone 10. So again, kind of paring it down and really deciding of all the values that, we want to shape our culture. What's the North Star? What's the guiding light? Because if everything's important, then nothing's important. So sort of forcing that function, and that can change over time. Like when I first start working with a company, maybe change is the most important thing that they should be thinking about, or valuing learning, right? Like we know that we used to be excellent at this. It's become more competitive and difficult to achieve the results we used to, so we want to learn. And that might be, the value that we focus on for 3 to 6 months. And then once those learnings are in place, then it's like, how do we capitalize? How do we grow from here? Like, so what's the area that we're going to prioritize or focus on? And it's really about that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm sure sure people struggle with that at first. I mean, I like the fact, yeah, I know a lot of people have like 20 values or 15 or like, and I've found that, yeah, making the message around those core things is definitely very helpful. And I think it gives clarity just to the internal teams as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So we always talk about talent here, right? Because we
Yes.
help people find talent and find talented people and things of that nature. But my question to you is, how can we invest in marketing talent? Like, what's your opinion on how we attract and retain those folks?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think marketing teams have changed so much in the last decade or two. And it was initially viewed as something very creative, writing focused, and sort of these amorphous skills, or something that you just had or you didn't. And then with the infusion of big data and performance marketing, which is a little bit of like the era that I grew up in, everything changed, right? Where it was like, you didn't have to have that thing. You didn't have to have the talent. You just needed to understand spreadsheets. You just needed to put keyword level tracking, and then you'll be able to know like what the absolute best channel and best ad and best keyword is to drive customers. And now what I think is the best way to attract talent is that within a marketing team, you want lots of different dimensions. You still want the creative, quirky people who are pushing boundaries. You absolutely need a data foundation, but it's not just that. You also need people who have strong judgment, a sense of the customer, a sense of what the company needs to deliver, and that can't be found in a spreadsheet. That can't be delivered just with a snappy line of copy. It has to be all of those things. They're not all the same level of importance at every time. That also shifts. And when I work with marketing teams, I often let them know, like, hey, so right now paid marketing is center stage because we need to boost it up. After that, we're really going to focus on brand and what that voice and that message is. And then after that, it's all about how we're going to connect with the customers through their email experience. So you're waiting in the wings, you're center stage, and I'm teeing you up for about 6 weeks, right? So you let everyone know, almost like players on a team, or actors in a play, what the staging looks like, because it can't be all those things at once. And it can't just be one note. It truly has to be multidimensional in terms of the types of talent that you bring in. And in that environment where you can sort of invite lots of different types of talent, that's when the most interesting collaborations, I think, can happen, because you are putting together unlikely variables, and seeing what happens, right? Like, what happens if the person who is usually reading your spreadsheets and the more data-centric person, what happens if you ask that person to take a look at your landing pages? Like, what would you change in terms of this landing page experience? And then conversely, ask your creative person, hey, these are the ads we've been running. We gave you the art specs for it, and you delivered exactly what we asked, but if we gave you a clean slate, what would you have asked for? And you might not get exactly what you need, but those discussions are invaluable and people become more vested in it. They feel like their presence there matters. Um, and I think that that's when really exciting work can happen.
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned that I want to come back to is collaboration, because my experience is like the marketing team's a lot of times they're a bunch of weirdos, or they're having too much fun, or they're not working, which is the exact opposite of what's going
Right,
on. I think
right.
when you see when they might be working the hardest. So how do you actually? It's probably a big part of your job, I'd imagine. How do you encourage collaboration between marketing and other departments?
Yes, it's one of the most important things. So marketing and product often have this natural friction, because the product team is thinking about the best user experience in terms of a clean and smooth experience, right? And marketers, because of the situation that we're in, we want to monetize, we want to increase engagement, we want to sort of maximize the experience so that we can spend more to bring more people in. And so, especially when I first start working with a company, it's so important for me to earn the trust and respect and get on the same page as the head of product and the head of engineering, and to really understand, hey, if I were to ask for this type of project that the company hasn't undertaken, maybe ever, or in the last year, um, what concerns you the most about that? Or what is a non-starter for you? So that it's a dialogue, and I always give up something at the beginning, always. I actually think it's very important to do so, because then you're showing that the benefit of the whole organization, even if that means, the engineering team being able to meet their deadlines on another project, or the product team feeling like you're not polluting the user experience to make more money, right? That just being able to establish that trust, which is like, hey, I know I need to hit these revenue goals or these traffic goals. So can we find a way where I can make some progress without destroying your universes, right? And figure out how to get everyone, I don't want to say aligned, because that word feels like it's used so often, it almost doesn't mean anything anymore, but at least looking in the same direction and understanding that we have different drivers behind what we're doing, but that there's a way that we can choose specific projects that hopefully we can all win a little bit on. So that, and I think when the marketing team sees the marketing leader really just try to become those people's best friends, like, it is so important for me to be liked and understood by those leaders. And when they see that and they get feedback from me that the engineering team is cooperating, is helping, is our largest asset, it really changes how they feel about interacting with different teams as well. And it becomes less of a zero-sum game and more about how can we work together so that we create something that is bigger than our individual teams alone.
It's good advice. Yeah, I see that
Oh,
all the
thanks.
time. So yeah, thank you. I mean, it really is. I mean, I just pretty much every company that I'm in, I always hear, you go back to the departments back and forth, and you can hear the rumblings sometimes of of things, because it's like, well, they have too much fun, they're not working, kind
Right,
of thing, and they don't understand like the bigger picture. And then I
right.
think you do have a lot of marketing departments that that are out doing their own thing, and like they don't understand the other departments as well. Uh,
Right, right. So a good example of this is actually something that I'm working through right now with an organization, which is that the engineering team, like many engineering teams, they've accumulated a lot of tech debt, right? So one of the most important pages on the site is very slow to make any changes on, right? Like the code is just kludgy, it's a mess. But of course, engineering teams would love time to refactor code, but just like I would love time to reorganize all the marketing resources. But no one ever has time to do that because you're doing your daily work and you're trying to hit goals. And so as an organization, we talked through what can we do so that the engineering team gets some time to address this page? And is there a portion of the team that can still be available? If there's a tracking error, if we want to launch the new loyalty program, if the new landing page that we're testing is a huge success and we can't wait to test like the next iteration. And so we figured it out. It's like 80% is working on this tech debt. It's gonna take 6 weeks. It's gonna suck, but you know what? There are other things that we can do to be productive, and it's so important to show them that support. And a faster, better performing page and an easier code base to put new changes in actually opens up the doors for other revenue opportunities in the future. So it's, trying to figure out like how to make the short term manageable, but then very quickly focusing on what's the medium term win and what's the long term win.
so I'm curious, with everything that can be done out there, what should we be paying attention to as far as data and analytics? Because there's so many different things, and it I don't think it comes down to
Yes.
just likes and comments and things like that.
Yes. Oh my
What
gosh.
should we
Yes.
be?
I'm gonna say such an unpopular answer, and many people are gonna think I'm naive. Um, I think we look at too much. I
Yes.
think we have too many reports. I think we have too much of a reliance on, hey, if we just have a data analytics team, we hire 10 PhDs, the whole company is gonna transform. That skill set 100% is helpful, but you can't just introduce more data into a situation and expect it to transform it. You need to be able to interpret the results. And most importantly, once you have the results and you have those three main takeaways, so then what are you going to do, right? You can't find that answer in a spreadsheet. How that translates into a change in the product, a change in the consumer experience, a change in how often you're emailing them, a change in like how the person feels when they receive your product for the first time. That has to come from a combination of other things. That's, your UX designer participating. That is your customer support team figuring out how they can add more to the experience, right? So in so many organizations, I see a growing reliance on data, which in of itself is excellent and positive. More information often helps illuminate the way, but it also can really cloud you in terms of just being focused on, well, the numbers aren't moving up, or this is the metric I'm focusing on and that's not moving up. Instead of taking a step back and trying to understand, is this still the most important metric? Has our industry changed? Has the environment changed? Everyone was so focused on likes. Now everyone's on TikTok. It's a completely different thing, right? And that is less about, somebody sharing something and more about like joining in on shared experiences, right? It's like jumping into conversations that people are having all over the world. And that, again, is something that data is not going to show you or a spreadsheet is not going to show you. And I think we've also all had the experience where we're like staring at Looker or Google Analytics or whatever your platform is, and you're just like waiting for the data to load because there's so much of it. And that in of itself is paralyzing, right? So figuring out how to streamline, knowing that you have more data and information as a backup support in case you need more, but being able to judiciously focus is one of the things that experience and expertise brings, right? And so we shouldn't be afraid to rely on that.
Before I forget,
Yes.
how can people get in touch with you? Because we want to be able to get in contact with you because you've provided such great information. How do people get in touch with you?
Oh, that's great. So my website is www.stronghouse.us. You can email me dena@stronghouse.us or find me on LinkedIn.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to connect with you for sure. But last question, and it's a question we ask everybody here, so I think you may or may not be prepared for it, but
Yes.
it doesn't have anything maybe to do with your subject or topic. But how would you, Dena, describe your best day yet?
Oh, yes. The tough thing is knowing that this question was coming did not make it any easier to come up with the answer. So I'm gonna go super wholesome.
Okay.
Because Disney World has become a happy place for my family over the last several years. It was a first trip that our family took together. And it just had like really amazing memories. And so I would say the best day would start and end. Start in Magic Kingdom, end in Disney Hollywood Studios.
Wow.
And yes, and just seeing the smile on my 7-year-old and our 11-year-old's faces, that's the best. And hearing my husband screaming on Slinky Dog Dash, which is his favorite roller coaster. So it's a very wholesome answer, but it's honestly, it's my happy place right now.
Well, that I love it. I love it. I love it. Thanks for sharing, and because that was a real honest answer. I appreciate it. Thanks for ending us on a really high note. Thanks for your information. Again, folks, Dena's website, stronghouse.us. Okay, and you can reach her at Dena, Dena, at stronghouse.us. Dena, it was great having you. Thanks for
Thank
being a
you.
guest.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening and watching. If you'd like more information, you can reach out to us at centerforvictory.com. And just remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. We'll see you soon.